Got 5 pounds of fresh ground deer meat, packet of seasoning, packet of cure from Cabela's. I'll add some water to help get it mixed in. Don't want to add too much water because you got to remove it later, and then you just mix away. Well, that's all mixed in. It gets a consistent brown color from the flavoring and rubbery-ish kind of texture from the cure. It seems to start working really fast. Now I'll cover it and put it in the fridge for 12, 18, 24 hours, something like that. Alright, there's my meat. And I touch my meat a little bit and I can feel that it's cured. So it's ready to go into the cock gun. Cock gun for meat. Who would have thought such a thing? I'll get you fun alone. My meat is very sticky. Little release button right there. I'm setting that on the edge of the counter, and that way it pushes it down as I ramrod it in and doesn't get an air bubble. Good thing about these cock guns is it makes all your jerky the same thickness. Plus you don't get any chewy parts because it's all ground meat, pre-chewed. If you don't get the same thickness if you're using slices, especially the same thickness in the slice, then it doesn't get done evenly. Friend brought his deer jerky to a Christmas party once, and after the party I asked another friend, have you ever had raw deer? And of course he said no, and I said, well, you have now, because the guy didn't finish the jerky. It was still very wet and very raw. Out of ammo. Need to reload. Alright, my 7 racks are filled. I'll put the blower motor on. Oh, come on. Plug it in. Turn the heat up to 160. You know you turn the heat up to 160 because right there it says jerky and meats 160. Ended up with that much meat left over after, and a full gun, after getting the 7 racks full. And since I don't know how the dehydrator works, I'm not going to rush up and buy some extra racks to finish off a full 5 pounds. I'm going back to my original jerky kit, which is done in the oven. You got these 3 racks you fill up and stack up as you fill. I got these 3 racks, the big pan, and the jerky gun is my original jerky kit. If your oven holds a low temperature like 150, 175, you're good to go. You don't need a dehydrator. Now the dehydrator fan might make it go faster, it might not. I'm gonna find out. Other thing you can do with the grinder meat, if you're jerking it, just roll out a piece and pat it out really thin on a piece of wax paper, and then get that up, slip a knife under it and work it up. Then where'd it go? Slip a knife under it, work it up, and then move that over to your drying rack if you don't want to buy a gun. There it is. My original jerking, or not original, because originally I used wood and smoked the meat. But my original grinder meat jerky method, just did it in the oven. You don't really need a dehydrator if you got an oven that will hold a low temperature. And you prop the oven door a little bit. Prop it open. Let the moisture escape the air. Alright, this is much faster in the dehydrator than the oven. What I'm doing, I feel for little squishy spots. This one has a couple little squishy spots, but not that bad. It's better to be too dry than too wet. Too wet, it gets rotty. That one's got a little squishy spot. So these are all definitely done. That bag's done. That bag's done. So since there's only these two sticks left, I'll toss them in a bag and the moisture will even out between them. Now, it took about 4 hours in the dehydrator, and that's including taking the ones out of the oven and putting them in the dehydrator for an hour. And I like them pretty hard. Like jerky, not like raw meat like some people. I think the guy that fed us raw meat, after looking at him, I flipped him over a little bit into it. He probably had his in his dehydrator for an hour or two, and before he claimed they were done, and they weren't done. They were just a little bit dry raw meat. These here are jerky.